Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, the president of the Nevada State Education Association, Ruben Murillo, plus on the Power Pundit panel, Andy McKay, Victor Jakes, and Warren Hardy. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers coverage of the 2017 legislative session is brought to you by Pro Group Management, the Nevada Trucking Association, the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association, and the Retail Association of Nevada.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are pleased to welcome back to the program Ruben Murillo. He is president of the Nevada State Education Association. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation.
Wanted to start out just asking you, what do you get as feedback of the general feeling in the classroom right now with all that's going on with immigration?
With immigration, our teachers and our support staff are very much interested in making sure that our children, whether they're immigrants or not, have a safe education, a safe place to learn, a safe place to study, and a place to feel comfortable and not threatened.
And do they feel threatened? Is that the feedback you're getting?
I believe after the election, a lot of students feel threatened, especially for those students who are born in the United States, who are fearful of their parents being deported.
And what do you think about the idea from Senator Cancela of making Nevada a sanctuary state?
I believe that it's the right way to go. I know a lot of people may not agree to that, but if Nevada or any of the cities should decide that they want to become sanctuary cities, that's up to them to decide, not for the federal government to come in and say no, no, no.
Do you think there's going to be a moderation after a period of time? Because it already seems that the president has spoken in favor of DACA and the children.
Well, I think there's a lot of mixed messages that are coming out. I'm not sure what to believe or what to expect coming forth from the federal government. A lot of mixed messages are being sent or tweeted.
And to change topics here, the reorganization of the Clark County School District, what are your thoughts on that at this point in time?
Well, I really don't have much to do with the reorganization. That's more of a local matter. But anytime that you can get the decision-making into the hands of the school community, the parents and the students, is a good move. When I was president of the Clark County Education Association, we came up with the empowerment schools, which really worked well. The heart and soul of an empowerment school was the school empowerment team, which helped to make decisions. The challenge of having the decisions in the hands of parents and the community and teachers and support staff are the training, number one, but also the ability for those who are in charge, administrators, to feel comfortable to give up that decision-making power and to trust that the members of their community are making the right decisions.
Do you think competition within the district is a good thing?
I think competition is always good with whatever you do. For example, in the Clark County School District, they have a lot of options for school choice. They have open enrollment, which allows for students in schools that may want to go to other schools the opportunity to do so. For example, there may be students at Rancho High School who do make the decision to go to Palo Verde High School. And so those are there along with our magnet schools, along with several other options.
Let's talk about ESAs for a moment. Your thoughts on ESAs?
Well, we want the investment in schools, not the divestiture of funds from schools. If you take a student and give them the money that's to go to a private school, let's say Gorman, which costs about an average of $13,000, or Faith Lutheran, which is about the same, it doesn't adequately pay for a student to go to that school completely. I'm a product of public schools and Catholic high schools, and I know when my parents decided to send me to Catholic high school, there was the challenge to be able to, number one, fit in culturally, where I may not have been a part of that, but also number two, financially. How do you get to support my activities? My parents sacrificed a lot. I played tennis, and I was involved in a lot of extracurricular activities that required additional funds to go there, not to mention the uniforms that we had to pay for also.
So do you think that the ESAs are then inherently unfair?
I believe the ESAs, the vouchers, are really unfair to those students who are left behind, who can't take advantage of them. In our understanding and belief is that vouchers would tend to increase class sizes, reduce staff, less resources for those children who aren't able to make that change.
So you feel that because that really hasn't been discussed very much at this point in time.
Which part?
The last part you mentioned about increased class sizes.
Oh yeah, there's definitely an increase on the school district if you take funds out of it. The monies to maintain the infrastructure, the funds to have the adequate amount of staff, qualified staff, and then just resources. Right now, teachers spend an average of $1,000 out of pocket to supplement the resources that they lack in a school. If we have a voucher program that takes children out of schools into private schools, and that's just going to be an even more burden on teacher, support staff, the school system to maintain public schools and provide a quality education for those students who are still in public schools.
You've urged citizens to write their assemblyperson or state senator urging them to support AB 212, which would remove student test scores from teacher evaluations. You write in your urging, the only way this bill will pass is with the strength of our teachers sharing their personal classroom stories to expose the flaws with the current system. Why should teachers not be judged on the performance of their students?
We want to be judged by the performance of our students, but not a test score that takes a snapshot of where a student is. There are many different ways to evaluate a student that doesn't include test scores. Portfolios, their SLGs or their student learning goals or growth goals. So there is a way to do so. In fact, the federal government under NSEA dropped the requirement that student test scores be part of a teacher's evaluation. It's only because the state is continuing to do so that it remains so. We had a town hall meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we had a lot of teachers telling their stories about how student test scores impact them or how they don't impact what they do. For example, if you're a music teacher, your evaluation may be tied to the fourth or fifth grade classroom and you have no control over that. We have a lot of control over what happens in the classroom. Student's learning environment. We don't have a lot of control when it comes to what happens in a student's private life. Do they come from an abused home? Do they come from a place where they don't have enough funds to provide breakfast to their family? Or are the families working extra schedules, midnight swing shift schedules, or that? We don't have control over that. We do have control what happens in the classroom. So we're not afraid of being evaluated. We just want to be evaluated in a fair manner.
All right, let's take a break. More with Ruben Murillo when we come back.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with the president of the Nevada State Education Association, Ruben Murillo. A bill to change the name of McCarran International Airport to Harry Reid International will be discussed later this week here at the legislature. Senator Reid was a friend to the teachers union and vice versa. Will your union support this name change?
We haven't even discussed it. We're very proud of the support that we've had from former Senator Harry Reid in terms of public education. So I'm sure we'll take a look at it, but at this time that's not on our radar. We have more important fish to fry.
I apparently have put it on your radar, but
Absolutely.
On the outskirts there. A Las Vegas Review Journal analysis of teacher turnover data found that 16% of teachers who began in the Clark County from 15-16 left within 1 year or less. That falls in the mid-range of the same data for 10 other school districts in the state, which had turnover rates ranging from 9.5% to 33.9% for that same year. Why are so many leaving the profession after putting in so little time?
Well, we're very concerned about that. It impacts the education that our students receive in Nevada, but this is a nationwide phenomenon too. Teachers are leaving the employment because for a variety of reasons. Number one, they don't get support from their administration at the school, a lack of professional development, the undue burden of teaching classes that have high classroom sizes, the variety of students that we have, behavior problems. We're just seeing that after 5 years, more than 50% of those teachers who are in the profession leave. So it's a retention problem. You can recruit them, but if you can retain them, that would help solve a lot of our issues with the lack of teachers in the classroom. So it's just for a variety of reasons that they're leaving. And you know what? We have stories of teachers who are just leave in the middle of a school year. They'll leave in October, a month afterwards, or they'll finally decide in January, February that this is not what they signed up for.
Is it a case of money, or is it beyond that?
I think it's a combination of many things. Teachers want to work and earn a good salary for the work that they put in. I'll tell you that a lot of teachers put in many, many hours, more so than the 7-hour contract that may be out there, maybe more or less, but they put in way more hours than are required at home, at school. And so it's not just the money, but it's also the working conditions, being supported in the classroom for the decisions they're making, but not being burdened also by unfunded mandates that require them to add just another thing on their plate.
For example?
Well, for example, a lot of the legislation that comes out here may require that they add a topic of discussion, something they're required to teach. And during the course of the day, where do they fit that in? And they're expected to implement it and then to be evaluated on it.
How do you feel about the morale of teachers? Because it seems to me that we're constantly reading across the state people hammering on the school districts and the quality of education, but yet there are a lot of great kids that are being churned out by the system. There are a lot of great teachers in the system. I would have to think that it's got to be tough morale-wise to be a teacher in Nevada at this point in time.
Well, I think it's tough to be a teacher across the United States. Teachers feel the burden of making sure that their students are successful. But let's bring the topic of tests. There are, somebody told me that there's more than 20 hours of testing that are being done on average. But then in order to get a child to pass that test, you have to teach them how to fill in the bubbles. You have to do testing preparation. There's a lot that goes into it that takes away from instruction in the classroom. So when teachers are forced to do things that take them away from instructing their students, they get really frustrated. They may get depressed, and it's all because they have to perform well on that test score in order for them to that they're being told that in order to do a good job, we're going to evaluate you on the test scores.
Let me ask you this. As we're really in the first month or so of the session, what's the number one goal of NSEA in this session?
I think the number one goal is to make sure that our children have a good public education. They have the funds that are necessary to provide that public education. There's a lot of talk of a weighted funding formula and how that's going to look across the state. We recognize that there are certain populations that need additional funds, such as ELL students, special ed students, GATE, free and reduced lunch. But then also, we want to make sure that there's no legislation that takes away from funding or programs for our students so that they can be successful.
And that's where we have to leave it for now, but please come back as the session progresses and we'll hear more.
All right. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure to have you on the program, sir. Thank you. We'll be right back.